कुंज बिहारी गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जना वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरावनचारी यमुना तीरावनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha, Shama Sundar Radha, Shama Sundar Radhe. Jaya Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Krishna Balaram, Jai Krishna Balaram. Jaya Gauranitai, 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 Gauranitai. Jaya Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Vrindavan Dham, Jai Vrindavan Dham. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jai Jai Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jai Gurudev. Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudiraye. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Krishna Swadhamopagate Dharmajnanadibhi Sah Kalo Nashtadrishametas Puranarkhadunoditah. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Thank you for kindly participating. My special gratitude to everyone who is here, who's spending their time, and also my millions and millions of prostrate obeisances to the management of the ISKCON Scarborough Temple for kindly considering me of some use, of some service this Sunday morning. Actually, Narada Muni has described something very beautiful. Taddinam durdinam manye megachhadanna durdinam yaddinam Krishna samlapam kathapi yushavarjitam. Narad Muni has said, Taddinam durdinam manye megachhadam na durdinam yaddinam Krishna samlapam kathapi yusha varjitam. So generally people understand a good day to be a day which is bright, the sun is shining very brightly, and then the clouds are cleared up. It's a blue sky, white clouds, great day to go out and visit different places, go out with family. That's the general consideration. And when you have the sky completely covered with monsoon clouds and it's drizzling and raining profusely, that day is considered to be not such a good day for going out, especially if you have to go for some sightseeing. If it's drenching completely, it's pouring down, you can't enjoy as much as you would materially enjoy with a clear sky. So Narad Muni is mentioning, generally people consider a bad day to be a day, or they define a bad day as a day where mega chadam, where the sky is completely covered with monsoon clouds. But Narad Muni says that is not actually the definition of a bad day. Then, dear Narad Muni, please explain to us what is the definition according to you of a bad day. Narad Muni says, Tad dinam durdinam aham manye. I consider that day to be a bad day. Which day? Meg achadam na durdinam. I don't consider that day to be a bad day which is, which is gloomy and which is filled with rains. That's not my definition of bad day, says Narad Muni. Then what's your definition, O Narad Muni, so that we can also consider your definition to be our definition? Narad Muni mentions, Yad dinam, that day. Yad dinam, that day when there is Krishna samlapam katha piyusha varjitam. That day which is devoid, bereft of the nectar flow of Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan, Narad Muni says that day is actually a bad day. Because one day of the invaluable human form has been wasted in topics of this world instead of glorifying Sri Krishna. Very beautifully, Mukundamala Stotra, King Kulashekar has also mentioned the same thing. He says that the tongue, Jivha, that tongue is first class. Amrita Varshini Pratipadam Yastauti Narayanam. That tongue is first class. It is like a rain-filled cloud in itself, which is pouring down profuse rains of nectar. It's a nectar flood. Which tongue? That tongue which glorifies Sri Krishna. So Narad Muni is saying that day is a bad day when there is no Krishna Katha and no Krishna Kirtan. Taddinam durdinam manye mega chadam na durdinam yaddinam. That day, Krishna samlapam. Krishna samlapam. Lap, alap means to sing. So samlap means to do kirtan. And at the same time, katha, discourses, hari katha, hearing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna, reading about Krishna. Piyusha means nectar, varjitam, bereft. That day which is where we are bereft of, we are devoid of the nectar of Krishna Katha and Krishna Kirtan. Narad Muni says that's actually a bad day. And Kulashekara says how to make a bad day into good day? By using the tongue. Yat Krishna pranipata dhuli dhavalam tadvarshma tadvaishiras tenetre tamasojite suruchire yabhyam harir drishyate sa buddhir vimalendu shankhadhavala yamadhava dhyayine sa jivamrita varshini pratipadam yastauti narayanam. King Kulashekara says that head is first class which bows down to Krishna. Those eyes are first class which glance on the form of Krishna. That mind is first class which always remembers Krishna. And that tongue is first class which always glorifies Krishna. Those ears are first class which always hear Krishna Katha. Jivve kirtaya keshavam muraripum cheto bhaja sridharam pani dvandva samarchaya chuta katha shrotradvayam tvam shrunu krishnam lochana lokaya dvayahare kachangri yugmalayam jigragrana mukunda pada tulasim murdhan namadhokshajam. King Kulashekara has said in the same book, Mukundamala Stotra, which Srila Prabhupada loved so much. Prabhupada used to sing the verses of Mukundamala Stotra especially Krishna Tvadiya Padapankaja Panjarantam. So in that book, King Kulashekara is giving advice to all of his senses. He says, Jivhe Kirtaya Keshavam. O tongue, you should do the kirtan of Keshava. Jivhe Kirtaya Keshavam Muraripo Cheto Bhaja. O heart, O consciousness, O mind, do the bhajan of Murari. So ultimately it's all Krishna, but different names have been assigned to different senses. O tongue, you do kirtan of Keshav. O heart, you remember Murari. Cheto bhaja Sridharam Pani Dvandva Samarchaya. And the two hands, you should do worship to the deity form of Sridhara. That is Krishna again. Pani Dvandva Samarcha Achyuta Katha Shrotra Dvayam Tvam Shrunu. And 2 years, you please hear the Hari Katha of Achyuta, Krishna. And Krishnam Lochana Lokaya Dvaya Hare. O two eyes, please glance on the beautiful form of Krishna, the all-attractive Lord. Harehe Gachangri Yugmalayam. O two legs, please walk to the temple of Sri Hari. And Jigra Grana Mukunda Pada Tulasi. O nose, please smell the Tulsi Manjaris offered at the lotus feet of Mukunda. And Murdhan Nama Adhokshajam. And O head, bow down to the lotus feet of Adhokshaja, Krishna. So in this way, Srila Prabhupada has given us this beautiful, wonderful entry into nectarian life, where every day is happy. Every day is happy. Prabhupada said, chant and be happy. He didn't say chant and do this and do that and do this and do that and then be happy. He said, no, chant and be happy, which means chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Chant the verses of Srimad Bhagavatam and be happy. Chant the glories of the Vaishnava Acharyas and be happy. Chant the glories of Krishna and the devotees and be happy. So chant and make your life successful. Prabhupada used to say, this process is susukham kartum avyayam. It is a path of happiness. Srila Prabhupada used to quote another verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. He used to say, Bhakti pareshanu bhavo virakti anyatra chesham trika ekakalaha. Very beautiful verse. So in the beginning, I was mentioning Srila Prabhupada is the sadhu. You can see Srila Prabhupada in the 70s, 60s and 70s, when there is no access to internet, there is no access to Veda base, there is no access to scanned copies and Xerox copy and all of these things. Technology wasn't, like we're talking about 50 years ago. Srila Prabhupada did not have Google Maps. Srila Prabhupada did not have WhatsApp and Facebook and let me search the closest store that I can go to shop. Nothing. 50 years ago. And Prabhupada used to quote so many verses. Srila Prabhupada was the encyclopedia. Srila Prabhupada was the walking Srimad Bhagavatam. This is sadhu. This is sadhu. Someone who is Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasu Shreyamuttamam Shabdhe Parecha Nishnatam Brahmani Upashamashrayam. This is the definition of sadhu. What is the definition of sadhu? Shabdhe Parecha Nishnatam. Nishnatam. Shnatam means to bathe, snan. And Nishnatam means Nitaram Shnatam, to constantly bathe. Bathe in what? Shabdhe and Pare. Guru or sadhu is someone who has constantly taken bath in the nectarian purports and the conclusions of Shabdhe. Shabdhe means Shabda Brahman. Scriptures, Shastras, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, Chaitanya Charitamrita, all of this. With Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita, we don't need any other scripture. Prabhupada has actually plundered the spiritual world and given it to us. Prabhupada, we can never repay what Prabhupada has done. Never. Absolutely never. How much scholarship. And then Prabhupada writes, Bhakti nahi, Veda nahi. Oh my Lord, I have no devotion. I have no knowledge. I don't know how I have received this name, Bhakti Vedanta. Because Bhakti means devotion and Vedanta means conclusion of all knowledge. Prabhupada's heart was exploding in ecstasy while chanting Jai Radha Madhava, by chanting Parama Karuna Pahu Dui Jana. And he was an encyclopedia. So Shabde, one must have taken repeated bath in the nectarian purports, not bath with water. Of course, that's expected too. But A pure Vaishnava is he who has bathed in the nectarian ambrosial conclusive purports of all the scriptures. And at the same time, he has realized, not just theoretically knowing it, practically realized, experienced that, has devotion in his heart. And not just that, as a result of that, Brahmani Upa Shamashrayam, he has completely controlled all of his senses and urges. Completely. Prabhupada used to give the example of a tortoise. A tortoise can pull out its arms whenever needed and pull in the arms when not needed. So Goswami, a sadhu, is like that. We fall for small temptations. Let's say Rasgulla is kept here, which is not offered to Krishna. Our hands go. Why? Because the mind says, enjoy. Where is the sadhuta? Sadhu means he whose senses are completely under his control, not that he is under the control of his senses. So Srila Prabhupada is the sadhu. And Srila Prabhupada mentions that bhakti pareshanu bhavo viraktir anyatra cheshantrika ekakalaha. He says, just like you accept prasad, you accept morsel after morsel. With every morsel, three things happen. One, the first thing that happens is hunger is destroyed. Second, satisfaction. We feel satisfied. And third, the body gets nourished. So similarly with devotion, day by day by day by day, chanting and remembering Krishna, these three things happen for the soul. The first thing, the hunger of this world is gone, which means not just the hunger of the belly, of course, that's also gone eventually. But the main thing is the hunger, the thirst, the trishna, the insatiable hunger and thirst for sense objects. I want to enjoy the opposite sex. I want to enjoy money. I want to enjoy position. I want to enjoy name, fame, recognition, distinction, honor, all of these things, subtle and gross enjoyment. By accepting morsel after morsel of the process of bhakti, that hunger is destroyed of this world. One can completely win over them. I have not won over. I am theoretically speaking. But I am repeating what Srila Prabhupada is saying and what our acharyas have experienced in their life. Yamunacharya has also said, Yadavadi mama Krishna chetapadara vindo nava navara sadhamanyudhyatam rantumasit. Prabhupada used to quote this verse also. Yadavadi mama cheta Krishna padara vindam. Yamunacharya is writing, when I have started taking the morsel of Krishna bhakti one after another, newer and newer taste of happiness is arising and exploding in my heart, so much so that the desire of enjoying this world, the desire of enjoying the opposite sex, when that thought comes in my mind, my lips curl inwards in disgust and my mind itself spits at the thought. We have to ask ourselves, do we have that level of control of our urges? Prabhupada used to say, we don't need certificate from anyone else. We have to ask ourselves how much advancement we are making. And these are the three things that happen with bhakti. First thing, the hunger, just like we take morsel of prasad, with every morsel, first thing, hunger is destroyed. So when we progress in devotion, the desire of enjoying this world, either gross or subtle, through envy, cutting someone down, moving ahead, pulling someone down, criticizing someone. What does criticism mean? It means, oh, well, he has something that I don't. So again, it's putting ourselves above others or doing things by which others will glorify us. And we think by their appreciation, I am actually going to be happy. But actually that glorification only touches the false ego and maybe the mind. But we are the soul. That glorification doesn't even go and touch and give happiness to the soul, because that glorification is material. Apareyamitastvanyam prakritim vidhime param jiva bhuta mahabaho yayedam daryate jagat. Prabhupada used to quote this verse also from the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that the soul is spiritual, it's higher, and glorification is material. Material happiness cannot give pleasure to the spirit soul, which is higher. Indriyebhyo paro hyartha arthebhyo cha param manaha manasastu para buddher buddheratma mahan paraha. The soul is highest. The sense objects. Then we have the mind, and higher than the mind is the intelligence. Higher than the intelligence, we see, is the soul. And higher than the soul is super soul. The soul is up there. And the pleasure of eating something, the pleasure of viewing something, the pleasure of hearing something, the pleasure of tasting something, touching something, feeling something, whether it is gross through our hands and through our senses, or it is the subtle appreciation from others, they're all material. They touch the false ego, they touch the mind. They can entertain, gratify the mind, but they can't touch the soul. What can give pleasure to the soul? Only a source which comes higher than the soul, that is bhakti, that is Krishna. Everything else is lower. Everything else is lower. Prabhupada used to give the example. The car depends on the driver, not the driver depending on the car. The driver can even walk, but the car stands still without a driver. Only when the driver enters does the car have life now, and it moves. So similarly, this body, the senses, the pleasure of this world, it's like a car. And the soul is the driver. The soul cannot get happiness from the car. The car has value because of the driver. This is Bhagavad Gita, fundamental 101, bhakti, fundamentals of bhakti, Prabhupada explains. So therefore, we being the spirit soul, we can gain pleasure only from a source higher than our existence, and that is Bhagavan, that is bhakti, that is serving and loving Krishna selflessly, not scratching Krishna's lotus feet with service so that I get the pleasure that is below my existence. This is what we do many times. Sakam bhakti. We serve Krishna and beg him, please give me a source of pleasure from this world, which Krishna has labeled as a place of suffering. So therefore, to selflessly beg the Supreme Lord, my Lord, please accept me. Apart from you, I have nobody. You have many servants, so it's not a big gain for you to accept me, or it's not a loss for you to reject me. But for me, my Lord, I have only one master, that is you. If you don't accept me, I become an orphan. And if you accept me, it fulfills my existence. My Lord, you complete me. Please accept me. This is devotion. This is devotion. So with every morsel that we accept from the plate of bhakti, three things happen. First, the hunger of this world is destroyed. The hunger of this world is destroyed. The hunger to enjoy this world is destroyed. Point number one. Second, the second thing that happens is we feel satisfied. Prabhupada used to say, a devotee, a true devotee is he who is very joyful. Susukham kartum avyayam. We can read the purports of Bhagavad Gita, especially the 9th chapter. Prabhupada writes many times that the symptom of devotion is joy, spontaneous joy. Even in the Shikshashtakam, Bhagavan Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has written, Ananda ambudi vardhanam pratipadam purnamrita swadanam. Hearing, chanting, remembering, speaking, serving Krishna and his devotees means it is the natural state of happiness for the soul. And we become happy. We must become happy. And if we are not becoming happy, there is aparadh. There is some roadblock. There is some principle of Shastra that is being broken because of which that pleasure is not coming. It is natural. Bhakti gives happiness. Bhakti gives happiness to Krishna. What to speak of the Jiva? We get drowned in joy. Of course, I'm speaking theoretical. But I have, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, some faith in what he's saying. So if Srila Prabhupada is saying, and he did it in real life, if someone is faking, how long can they fake? How long can they lie? How far can they go? But Srila Prabhupada came with truth, an unadulterated truth. It was truth which cracked the sky and came in this world. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex. Can you imagine a sadhu coming and speaking about these four principles in a generation where there was free sex, where there was the counterculture, where there was opposition to everything that was dharmic. People were living off the streets. People were eating whatever they wanted. They wore whatever they wanted, or they didn't wear. They were intoxicated. It was the generation of the LSD. And if it was someone who desired name, fame, and recognition, he would have just said, well, you come the way you want, and we'll just chant, and then, everything will get purified. Prabhupada wanted to make us human beings first. No meat eating, no intoxication, no gambling, no illicit sex, and the chanting of 16 rounds. And you can see the power of those who followed the process. They are still chanting the same Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It's been 50 years. How can you chant the same thing every single day for 50 years and not even get paid for it? You're tasting something. This is why Srila Prabhupada's disciples are our source of shelter. They are following the process. So the first thing is the hunger of this world will be destroyed with every morsel from the plate of bhakti. The second is we feel satisfaction. Susukham kartum avyayam. We will feel joy. And without bhakti, there is no pleasure. There is no pleasure, absolutely no pleasure. You can see, you can move from one marriage to another. You can move from one house to another. You can move from one job to another. You can move from one car to another. See how much happiness has increased. It's just the fluctuation of the mind. The mind, when you have A, the mind says, I want B. And when you get B, it gives you some pleasure of satisfaction, of achieving it for some time. But then the problems of B start coming out. And then sometimes you may even feel A was better, or maybe C is better. And in this way, we go through all the alphabets, not having pleasure. While the source of pleasure is in here. It's in here. Krishna is the source of all joy. Raso vai saha. Labdva anandi bhavati. By getting Krishna, we will be happy. By binding Krishna with the Damodar Leela, the ropes of devotion to the wooden grinding motor of our heart, we will be happy. We will be happy. So hunger of this world will be destroyed. Second, we will feel satisfaction as we eat morsel after morsel on the process of bhakti. And the third, just like the body gets nourished and healthy, we will advance on the path of bhakti. Our soul, the spiritual body gets nourished. Prabhupada would say, just like we have prasadam for the body, similarly, hearing, chanting, remembering is the prasadam for the soul. So therefore, this process of bhakti, very powerful process, very, very powerful. This process of bhakti has 9 prominent limbs. And one of those limbs is called Pada Sevana. Pada Sevana means to worship the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Pada means lotus feet, and Sevana means seva. So one meaning is to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. Or another meaning is to serve the Lord with one's feet. And how is that possible? By circumambulation. And of all the circumambulations that we know in this world, we circumambulate the temple, we circumambulate the tulsi plant, we circumambulate our spiritual master, we circumambulate the holy abode, and there is one form of the Supreme Lord, whom thousands and thousands of devotees, in fact millions of devotees, come every year to circumambulate. And his name is Sri Giriraja Govardhana. So today we will hear something about the glories of Sri Giriraja Maharaj, Giriraja Govardhana. We've all seen, hopefully we've all visited Vrindavan Dham and seen the beautiful form of Sri Giriraj. And I hope that those who haven't visited, by Krishna's mercy, by the mercy of the spiritual master, may all those devotees get a chance to do Govardhan Parikrama. Srila Prabhupada himself was so attached to Giriraj. And Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur too. Prabhupada Saraswati Thakur in his last few months in this world would just chant the Govardhan Vas Prarthana Dashakam of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. And then our Prabhupada also, he had a few Govardhan rocks with him all through. In his original briefcase that he got, he had a few rocks of Govardhan that Prabhupada's personal servants recall. Also, Srila Prabhupada, on his last few days in this world, before he wound up his pastimes, manifest pastimes, Srila Prabhupada's desire was to do a Giriraj Parikrama. Because by circumambulating this beautiful hill, which is none different from Krishna, called Govardhan, we get inconceivable spiritual advancement. As we walk around Giriraj Govardhan, our walking from one body to another gets destroyed. As the soul, we have been transmigrating and walking from one mother's womb to another mother's womb for lifetimes. That walking from one birth to another is destroyed by walking around Giriraj Govardhan. There are many beautiful things that can be mentioned about Giriraj Govardhan. Our acharyas have mentioned a lot about Sri Giriraj. But I want to read one purport of Srila Prabhupada. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 18, text 34. It's a small paragraph. I would like to read that, and then we will hear something about Govardhan. So this is Prabhupada's purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains the opulence of Govardhan Hill as follows. Paniya refers to the fragrant cool water from the Govardhan waterfalls, which Krishna and Balaram drink and use to wash their feet and mouth. Govardhan also offers other beverages such as honey, mango juice, and pilu juice. Of course, these things we can see, but these are the unmanifest pastimes. And of course, by serving sincerely and by getting the mercy of our Gurujan, our previous predecessor acharyas, may we all be the recipient of their glance and get some entry into this reality. What we see as reality is actually not reality. The actual reality is not seen yet because it's covered by the curtain. Maya javanika channam na lakshase mudadrisha nato natya dharo yatha. Queen Kunti has explained in her prayers that Maya Devi has put the curtain. So what we are supposed to see, we're not able to see because our eyes are tainted with lust. So when we perform bhakti, that curtain is taken out and the reality comes in front of us. So that's the reality that's being seen now through the eyes of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Chakravarti Pad says, Suyavasa indicates durva grass used to make religious offering. Govardhan also has grass that is fragrant and soft and conducive to the strong growth of cows and increased production of milk. Thus, this grass is used for feeding the transcendental herds. Kandara refers to the caves where Krishna, Balaram, and other friends play, sit, and lay down. These caves give pleasure when the weather is too hot or too cold, or when it is raining. Govardhan also features soft roots for eating, jewels for ornamenting the body, flat places for sitting, and lamps and mirrors in the form of smooth stones, glistening water, and other natural substances. So in this way, what we actually see as a pile of rock, it's not a pile of rock. Externally seems like pile of rock, but Sri Giriraj is actually Bhagavan. In the Garga Samhita, it has been described, Girirajo Hare Rupam. Giriraj is actually Krishna himself. But at the same time, he's in the mood of a devotee. His Holiness Giriraj Swami Maharaj explains this as follows. Says that Giriraj Govardhan is like Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is God, but he's in the mood of a devotee. Right? Similarly, Giriraj Govardhan is Krishna. No difference, absolutely. But he's in the mood of a devotee. So you can worship him as Krishna or you can worship him as a devotee. You worship him as Krishna, that is also correct. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu worshipped in that mood. Prabhu kahe Shila Krishna Kalevar. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he gave a Govardhan Shila, a Govardhan rock to Raghunath Das Goswami, he said, actually, this rock is the manifestation of Krishna, and therefore you should offer tulsi leaves, Ganga water, and serve him as if you serve the deity, the deity of Krishna. But at the same time, in the Bhagavatam, we see, Hantaya Madri Rabala Haridasa Varyo, this is Canto 10, chapter 21, text 18. Hantaya Madri Rabala Haridasa Varyo, Yad Rama Krishna Charana Sparsha Pramodaha, Manam Tanoti Sahago Ganayosta Yoryat, Pani Asuya Vasakandara Kandahuli. So there, the term used for Giriraj is Haridasa Varya. He's the best among servants. He's the best among servants. And who says that? Shukadev Goswami is saying, but he's relaying the words of whom? Who has actually said this? Raghunath Das Goswami says, Giri Nripa Haridasa Shreni Varyeti Nama Amritam Uditam Shri Radhika Vaktra Chandrat. This term Haridasa Varya has actually manifested from the lotus lips of Srimati Radharani herself. So Radharani is saying that Giriraj is the best among servants. Hari Dasa Varya. Hari means Hari, Krishna. Dasa means servant. Hari Das means the servant of Krishna. And Varya means first class. So he's the first class. He's the best servants among the servants of Sri Krishna. So these are the words of Srimati Radhika or Radharani. So therefore, both are correct. You can serve Giriraj as Krishna or as the devotee. However, we do know that Krishna becomes happy when you serve his devotees more than serving him. So if Giriraj is served as the devotee, then Krishna is more happy. Because when you serve him as Krishna, that's correct. It's not wrong. Krishna is happy. But when you serve Giriraj as the devotee of Krishna, then Krishna is more happy. Because he's more happy when the devotees are served in contrast to just serving him. And also, and this is again coming from the Praman, that Mad Bhakta Puja Bhyadika. Krishna is saying in the 11th canto that more than serving me, I rejoice, I partake in the service of my devotees. And also we know from our standpoint, we need more mercy. And who's more merciful? Krishna is merciful. He's definitely Karuna Sindhu. He's the ocean of mercy. He Gopalaka, he Kripa Jalanidhe, he Sindhu Kanya Pate, he Kamsantaka, he Gajendra Karuna Parina, he Madhava, he Ramanuja, he Jagatraya Guru, he Pundarika Akshamam, he Gopi Jananatha Palaya Param, Janaminatvam Vina. It has been mentioned that he Gopalaka, he Kripa Jalanidhe, O ocean of mercy. When is your mercy seen? He Kamsantaka, he Gajendra Karuna Parina, he Madhava. Your mercy is seen as much in the killing of Kamsa as much as in the deliverance of Gajendra. So only mercy drips out of you. So Krishna is definitely merciful, but we do know more merciful than Krishna are his pure devotees. And we know that from the Ramayana also, that Ramachandra is very powerful, but still Ravana could kidnap Mother Sita. The presence of Sri Ram and Lakshmana. They were around, of course, they had gone chasing the golden deer, Marich. But in that presence, Ravana could kidnap Mother Sita. And with all the strength that Sri Ram had, still Mother Sita could not come back. But it took the most merciful servant of Sri Ram, Hanuman, to jump across the ocean and pass on the ring to Mother Sita. And by his blessings and by his service, Mother Sita could come back to Sri Ram. So we can say similarly, we, not that we are Mother Sita, but we are trying to draw some parallels from the story. Like Mother Sita, the spirit soul has been taken away from the service of Sri Ram, who is our eternal master, Sri Krishna, by Ravana, which is this material world, material energy, Maya Shakti. And we are placed in the Lanka of this material world. And Ramachandra, or the Supreme Lord as Paramatma, is there with us over lifetimes in the same heart region. Sarvasya chaham ridhi sannivishta matta smriti jnanam apohanam cha, Gita. Or Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddesha arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudani maya. Prabhupada used to say that everything that we speak in our preaching, we should support it with the Bhagavad Gita. So in this way, just to fulfill the mood of Srila Prabhupada, we should memorize verses and study the scriptures. It is not to become a scholar. It is not to gain some headweight. Because by memorizing verses, we will not get Krishna. It doesn't impress him because these verses are his spontaneous eruptions on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So it doesn't impress him. But we can, by fulfilling the words of Srila Prabhupada, we will get his mercy. Also, it substantiates and authenticates everything that we speak in our preaching. Prabhupada used to give the example of a lawyer. Prabhupada used to say that we should be like lawyers, quoting from the law book. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said like this. Bhagavatam states like this. So in the heart region, Krishna has said many times in the Bhagavad Gita that he is residing. So we as Mother Sita, in the mood of Mother Sita, have been separated from Sri Ram, and we have been put here by Ravana, that is Maya Shakti, in the Lanka of this world. And Sri Ram, the Paramatma, is there with us. Still, we are not free. But it takes a Hanuman like a pure devotee in the form of Sri Guru to jump from that world to this world across the ocean of birth and death to rescue the Sita of our consciousness and bring it back to reunite with the Ram of our eternal Lord. You see? So more merciful than Sri Ram is Hanuman. So therefore, Krishna is merciful, but his devotees are more merciful. His pure devotees are more merciful. So therefore, if we worship Giriraj as Krishna, he's definitely merciful. But if you worship Giriraj as a pure devotee, then he showers more mercy. And this is the same mood with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is more merciful. Why? Because he's in the mood of Radharani, who's a pure devotee. He's more merciful than Krishna, because now he's imbued with devotion. And same goes with Giriraj. So Giriraj Govardhan is not a pile of rocks. So it seems to be like that to our balls of flesh, which we call as eyes. We don't see anything actually. We absolutely don't see reality. With these eyes we can see. We see with our heart. We see through the eyes of devotion. Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. The souls have darshan of Krishna in the heart. Santaha sadaiva, eternally, hridayeshu, in the hearts, vilokayanti. They glance and they have darshan, not through the eyes. Even in the Damodarashtakam it has been mentioned. Varam deva moksham na mokshavadim va nachanyam vrineham vare sadapeha idam teva punatha gopala balam sada me manasyaver astam ki manye. Satyavrat Muni has said, may this form of Bal Gopal give darshan to me in my heart. Thousands and thousands of other benedictions are of no use to me. So darshan takes place in the heart. Same for Dhruva Maharaj also we see. First he saw darshan in the heart. And then what he saw in the heart disappeared, and that agitated him and he opened his eyes. And that darshan that he had in the heart manifested outside. So Krishna can appear and give darshan in so many ways, but for those who are qualified. So Giriraj is not different from Krishna. He's not a pile of rocks. Krishna can appear in any species. Just like if you see, let's say, we see Narasimhadev and we say, oh, he's just a lion. That would be an offense. He looks like a lion, he roars like a lion, but he's a transcendental lion. He's Krishna in the form of a lion. Let's say we saw Varahadev in the form of a wild boar, and then we say, oh, he's just another wild pig or wild boar. That would be an offense to the transcendental form of the Lord. Or let's say we have darshan of Kurmadev or Matsya Avatar, and we say, oh, he's just another tortoise, or he's just another fish. That's an offense. As much as offensive as it may sound, that Krishna, oh, he's just a fish, oh, he's just a tortoise. That's how offensive it is. When we look at the pile of rocks and we say, oh, he's just a mountain, he's just a hill, oh, that's not God. Or like looking at Srimad Bhagavatam and saying, oh, that's just a book. Or looking at Shaligram Srila and saying, that's just stone. Looking at Tulsi Devi and saying, oh, she's just a plant. Having Charanamrit and saying, oh, that's just another water. Chanting the holy name and thinking, oh, that's just another sound. Looking at Sri Guru and saying, oh, that's just another human being. The 11th canto Krishna has said that Nava manyeta karihichit na martya buddhi suyeta sarvadeva mayo guru acharyam mam vijaniyam. Krishna has said, understand Sri Guru to be me. Don't think that he's a mere mortal. Which means, as much as we should have the vision that he may appear like a human being, but he's transcendental. Similarly, we should say, she may appear like a plant, but Tulsi Devi is transcendental. He may appear like a stone, but Shaligram Srila is transcendental. The water may appear like water, but this Charanamrita is transcendental. Holy name may appear like sound, but he's Krishna, transcendental. The deity may seem to be like that of wood for Jagannath, or stone or marble, but he's transcendental. He may look like a fish, but Matsyadev is transcendental. Vrindavan Dham may look to be in the map of Uttar Pradesh or India, but it's transcendental Dham. Similarly, Giriraj Govardhan may look like a pile of rocks, but that is Krishna appearing in the society of stones and rocks. Very powerful. By worshipping Giriraj Govardhan, by remembering Giriraj Govardhan, by speaking about Giriraj Govardhan, we get supreme blessings. Krishna's happy, and we are also happy. We make so much advancement. This is why Raghunath Das Goswami has said, Nija nikata nivasam dehi govardhanatvam. Oh Govardhan, if you want to fulfill some desire of mine, just keep me at your lotus feet, which means give me residence at your foothill. That's all that I want. Even Srila Rupa Goswami in the Upadeshamrita has given a very wonderful hierarchy. And he says, Vaikunta Janita Vara Madhupuri Tatra Pirasotsavat Vrindaranya Mudara Pani Ramana Govardhana. He said, greater than Vaikunta is Mathura, because in Vaikunta he is in a four-handed form, but he doesn't take birth. But in Mathura he appeared in a two-handed form and he took birth, very beautiful as Krishna. But greater than Mathura is Vrindavan, because he was born in Mathura, but he gave it up and moved immediately to Vrindavan. But then greater than Vrindavan is Govardhan, because he lived in Vrindavan, but 12 hours a day with his friends, he spent time at Giriraj. So Giriraj Govardhan is the greatest devotee of the Lord, who facilitates all kinds of pastimes. All kinds of pastimes. Krishna's friends play at Govardhan. The gopis are stopped by Krishna for the tax collection pastimes at Danghati. So many things can be mentioned about Sri Giriraj. It's actually a topic for a month or two of discussion. There's so much nectar about the significance of Govardhan Hill for a Gaudiya Vaishnava, for someone who wants to aspire for the love of Vrindavan, the love in the mood, in the wake of the Brajbasis, walking in their footsteps. In fact, in the Garga Samhita, there is a very, very beautiful story about the glories of Sri Giriraj Govardhan. I would like to mention this story. It will really inspire all of us to really worship Govardhan Hill and increase our faith and appreciation for Sri Giriraj. Garga Samhita has been approved by Srila Prabhupada and by Srila Sanatana Goswami also, greatly appreciated. In fact, let me, Bhakti Vinod Thakur has mentioned in the Garga Samhita, Mayapur Dham has been mentioned as the destroyer of sins. So Garga Samhita has been quoted by Bhakti Vinod Thakur. Srila Sanatana Goswami has also said, confidential science of bhakti is taught explicitly only in a few scriptures known to public. Among these rare texts are the Gopal Tapani Upanishad, the Vishnu Puran, Padma Puran, Bhagavat Mahapuran, Harivansh Upapuran, Narad Pancharatra, and the Garga Samhita. So in this way, Garga Samhita has been glorified. It has been spoken by Gargacharya himself, who named Krishna when Krishna was a child in the cow shed of Nanda Maharaj. So in the Garga Samhita, there is a very beautiful story. It mentions about the life of a wealthy Vaishya, a businessman. He was very good. He was very dharmic, but he had a son. As you know, in every story, there's a classic twist in the tale and turn of events. So similarly, the Garga Samhita describes that this wealthy Vaishya, who was very dharmic, he had a son who was the exact opposite. He was a cheat number one. He was a drunkard. He was a woman hunter. He was a gambler. I beseech everyone to attentively hear this story, because it will give us a lot of hope in life. We may be very, very fallen, but we all have hope, because Krishna's mercy, the net of Krishna's mercy, is all encompassing. It's always there to protect us. Just like a man who's probably painting a building, let's say on the 10th floor or the 15th floor. For those in India, you may have seen, you have these tall structures, and then you have the painters who are painting from outside. You could be painting on the 10th or the 12th or the 15th floor, and the person is painting, but what is his hope? What if he slips and falls? Well, he has a protective net, a life-saving net. So that's our hope too. When we paint our consciousness on the high building of bhakti, there's a chance of a fall, accidental fall, or in the past, maybe even pre-planned falls. But the protective net of Krishna's grace is always there. So let's hear the story. It'll give us a lot of hope. So there was a wealthy Vaishya, a businessman, who was very dharmic, but his son was the exact opposite. He was a gambler, he was a drunkard, a woman hunter, he was someone who gambled, intoxicated, he stole, he ate meat And the parents tried to correct him and rebuke him and reprimand him and even counsel him from time to time. But he didn't budge an inch, and he paid no attention. He didn't offer his ear to the advice. In fact, the text describes that he went on to murder his own parents with poison. His consciousness became so clouded that he saw his own parents as source of pain and constant bickering. So he murdered them with poison. And then he had a wife who would advise him that you should not gamble and you should not drink and smoke and you should not go looking for pleasure to other women. You should be within the boundaries of dharma. And he now found his wife to be a source of bickering and a pain in his head. As a result, he became, let's say, antithetical or completely against her viewpoint, and he took a sword and murdered her too. So he poisoned his parents and killed them. He murdered his wife, took all the money that was there at home. And what did he do? He went to a prostitute. My Guru Maharaj would say that our consciousness in the contaminated state, it's like water. Water never goes from the lower level to the higher level. It naturally flows from the higher level to the lower level. To push water up, you need some arrangement, some pump, some electric power, something needed, some external arrangement to lift up water and push it up. But if you just leave it, it'll naturally flow down. That's the natural state of water. So similarly, our consciousness is like that. It takes a lot of struggle to push up the consciousness which is low class. But if you just let go, it'll naturally go down from sattva to rajas and rajas to tamas, and then complete pollution. So this man, he poisoned, he was into all vices possible. He lost his intelligence. Krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramsha buddhi nasho, buddhi nashat pranashyati. Krishna has given a hierarchy in the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Sangat sanjayate kama, kamat krodo vijayate, krodhat bhavati sammoha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramsha buddhi nasho, buddhi nashat pranashyati. Krishna has very wonderfully given step by step how one can lose one's intelligence because of enjoyment in this world. Andhasya me rita viveka mahadhanasya chaurai prabho balibirindriya namadheyaihi mohanda kupa kuhare viripatitasya devesha dehi kripanasya karavalambham. Our acharyas describe that vision in life, the actual vision is not from the eyes. The actual vision is viveka buddhi, the vision of discrimination, what is right and what is wrong. So therefore, we say shastra chakshu. Scriptures give us the eyes. Scriptures give us the vision, because scriptures very clearly, the shastras very clearly define what should be done, what should not be done. Anukulyasya sankalpa, pratikulyasya varjanam. Accept what is favorable, give up what is unfavorable. And that is actual vision. Moment to understand, well, this is not favorable, I should give it up. Oh, this is favorable, I should take it. This is proper vision. But when andhasya me rita viveka mahadhanasya, the acharya say that, my Lord, andhasya, I am blind. It's interesting, the person who's writing this is not blind, but he's saying andhasya me, I am blind. Why? Rita viveka mahadhanasya, because the great wealth of discriminatory power of what is right and what is wrong has been stolen away from my consciousness, and therefore I am blind. Chauraihi prabho, oh my Lord, I have been stolen. I have been plundered. By whom? Balibirindriyai namadheyai, by the great plunderers called as my senses. And mohanda kupa kuhare, I have been thrown into the deep dark well of illusion in this world. Devesha, oh Lord of the demigods, Dehi kripanasya karavalambham, please put your hand into this well of this world and pull out this miser who's calling out to you. This is how our acharyas have called out with so much surrender. So this example of this man was like that. He had lost all power of discrimination. He poisoned his parents, he murdered his wife, plundered all the wealth because of lack of vision. And then he went to a prostitute, enjoyed with her, and to maintain her, now he started doing more theft, because you need money to keep the thing going. And now when he thought that she was also a source of bickering and struggle and turmoil for the head, he threw the prostitute in a dry well and left her helpless there, and she died eventually. So this man has been taking mountains and mountains of sins on his head, breaking all regulative principles, murdering his parents, murdering his wife, enjoying with a prostitute and then spitting her out into the deep, dark, dry well and letting her die helplessly there. And he stole all her money also. There's no extent how much we can degrade ourselves. The consciousness gets darker and darker and darker and gets clouded and clouded and clouded. And now we don't think that's wrong. We don't think that's wrong. When you're in it, when you're in the problem, you don't think you're in the problem. But when someone's outside the problem, they can see that this person has lost his intelligence. Like Narada Muni saw Manigriva and Nalakuber. Manigriva and Nalakuber did not think they were in a big predicament. They had lost everything. They were in the abode of Lord Shiva. They were committing offense to the Dham. They were committing offense to Ganga Devi. They were committing offense by being without clothes to the directional demigods. They were offending because they fell from grace. They were children of Bhagavatam calls Kubera as Dhanada. Dhanad is one name of Kuber. Dhana means wealth and Da means Dadati. He who gives, he's so powerful, he's so wealthy that he could give wealth out to the demigods. And they were his sons, so they were intoxicated. Janma Aishwarya Shruta Shribhi Edamanam Madapuman Naivarhati Abhidhatum Vai Twam Akinchana Gocharam. Queen Kunti has mentioned there are 4 slippery slopes on the path of bhakti. Aristocratic birth, lot of wealth, bodily beauty, and erudite scholarship. And Manigriva and Nalakuber had all 4, and they didn't think that they were having any problem. In fact, the women that they were sporting with in the water, they saw Narada Muni and they covered themselves according to the Bhagavatam. But Manigriva and Nalakuber were thinking, when we are enjoying here, why the sadhu is coming and disturbing? And they lost all intelligence. But Narada Muni, because he was outside the problem, he could clearly see that they were struggling. They were struggling. And he thought out of his compassionate heart, how can I uplift them? Srila Prabhupada is like that, like a Narada Muni. My Guru Maharaj explains very beautifully that all of us are Manigriva and Nalakuber. We are all Manigriva and Nalakuber. Why? Because we are all sons of Kuber, the greatest treasure, that is Krishna. And we are in the abode of Lord Shiva, which means this material world, because Lord Shiva and Mother Parvati are the fathers and the father and mother of this world. So we are in the abode of Lord Shiva, being the sons of the greatest treasure, that is Krishna. And we have fallen from grace, and we are thinking of enjoying this world. But Srila Prabhupada is like Narada Muni. He walked into our lives directly and indirectly through his representatives. And instead of cursing us to become trees, it's very interesting. Narada Muni, he cursed Manigriva, Nalakuber and made them trees. And then in their next life, after being trees, they were made into Snigdha Kantha and Madhu Kantha, according to Gopal Champu of Srila Jiva Goswami. Snigdha Kantha and Madhu Kantha were the singers in Goloka Vrindavan. They would go house to house and speak about Krishna. So it's interesting. Narada Muni made Manigriva and Nalakuber into trees. And then from tree body, later they were made into preachers. But what did Prabhupada do? Narada Muni did it in 2 lives. Manigriva, Nalakuber became trees, and trees became preachers after Damodar uplifted them through the wooden grinding mortar. But what did Srila Prabhupada do? The sadhu called Srila Prabhupada, in the mood of Narada Muni, he saw all of us struggling as Manigriva and Nalakuber. And instead of making us into trees and then into preachers, Prabhupada immediately transformed all of us and gave us the opportunity to become Madhukantha and Snigdha Kantha, which means preachers in this movement of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So therefore, coming back, we were talking about vision in life and how this example, the son of the Vaishya, had lost this vision. He became so distracted in life that he would become he would plunder day and night, and he would use ropes to murder, to tie people and kill them and plunder them. And thousands of people were killed according to Garga Samhita. So look at these sins that he has committed. Breaking regulatory principles repeatedly, poisoning his own parents, killing his wife with a sword, going to a prostitute, enjoying her, stealing all her wealth, throwing her and killing her into a well, now tying people and plundering and murdering them on gunpoint, knife point, as people do these days. And of course, back then, maybe with knives and swords. And all varnas. He killed brahmanas, he killed many kshatriyas, he killed many vaishyas, he killed many shudras. And not just that, he would also hunt animals in the forest and kill them for meat. So he was just dipped. He was living off sin. One fine day, unfortunate for him, but fine ultimately in the overall picture. As he was hunting for a deer in the forest, he accidentally stepped on a snake. And as he stepped on the snake bit him and he died. And we can only imagine what's awaited. As he died, the Garga Samhita describes, Yamadutas came with clubs, mighty clubs, with sharp canine teeth, almost grunting to rip him in hell. And he was so scared as he died. The Yamadutas came, uncountable, inconceivably strong and horrifying looking, terrifying looking, dangerous, fear-inducing Yamadutas. They came with very mighty clubs. They tied him up, dragged him, and they were beating him black and blue. And it is described for one Manvantara, which means Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga. Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, Kali Yuga, which is about 43 lakh years, earthly years. That times 71 such cycles is one Manvantara. So we can do the math. One Manvantara is about 40 to 45 lakh earthly years, and 71 such cycles. You can do the math. So for one Manvantara, they were torturing him in hell. They were forcing him, kicking him to embrace a burning, molten fire-filled idol of a woman, because he was used to having illicit sex, and that's the punishment. You see, Srila Prabhupada has those graphic pictures in the Bhagavad Gita so that we know what we're getting into before we get into it. So he was kicked and pushed to embrace such dioramas which were on fire for such a long time, and he was struggling. And after this was done, still Yamaraj did not have pity on him. He sentenced this man to go through 8.4 million hellish conditions. Of course, in the 5th canto, 26th chapter, we can see different hellish descriptions given by Shukadev Goswami. But they're all just the titles. There are many subtitles of hells. So 8.4 million hells is all that Yamaraj has. And he wanted him, this sinner, to go through each one of them. And he went through each one of those hells, suffering for the sins that he had committed. Even after that, Yamaraj was not pacified. Can you imagine how sinful he would have been? Now when the Yamaduta said he's done with all of his tenure of living here, and struggling and crying, because you don't even die there. You're given a body where animals and dogs, wild dogs, are ripping us to pieces, but it's paining, excruciating pain, but we don't die, because it's the subtle body that's suffering, because the gross body is left behind here. So after all of this suffering, when Yamaraj still didn't have pity, the Yamaduta said, now what's next? Yamaraj said, now give him the body of a pig on Bharatvarsha. So he became a pig. Not one birth, 10 births. Yamaraj wanted him to become a pig for 10 births. And each of those births, the pig was killed by men. It didn't die a natural death. It was beaten to death. After 10 births, then they came to Yamaraj and said, now what to do? He said, now make him a tiger for 100 births. And after 100 births of tiger, make him a camel for 100 births. And after he becomes a camel for 100 births, make him a buffalo for 100 births. And in each of these births, he should not die a natural death. He should be killed. So you can imagine how much he suffered. So dear devotees, nothing that we do, see, speak, or act goes unnoticed. It's all being noted. As you sow, so shall you reap. After he spent 10 lives as a pig, 100 lives as a tiger, 100 lives as a camel, 100 lives as a buffalo, what next? Yamaraj didn't still have pity. He said, now give him the body of a snake for 1,000 lifetimes. And in each of those lifetimes, he should be beaten to death. So after suffering so much, now the Yamaduta said, now what to do next? And he said, now you give him a human birth, but not a normal human birth. Make him a cannibal, make him a monster who eats on other humans. Give him that form. So then he was born as a cannibal monster, eating on other human beings. And that too, a cannibal monster who would eat on other people, but born where? In a desert, where he was having excruciating heat, summer afternoons, and lack of water, and he's just crawling his way for food, and he doesn't get anything. But guess what? He walks all his way, crossing through the desert in Rajasthan. He comes by the will of Sri Krishna. He comes to Vrindavan Dham. And guess what? At that time, Krishna is performing his pastimes with his friends. When Krishna's manifest, this was happening. So his transmigration through all these species just overlapped exactly in such a wonderful way that he came when Krishna was performing his pastimes. So he came to Vrindavan, and he came to Yamuna to drink some water, and Krishna's friends saw that this is an ugly looking monster, a cannibal, who can be a source of great pain and suffering to the Brajbasis. So what did Krishna's friends do? They took sticks and started beating him to death, but somehow he ran out. They were very powerful, the Brajbasi sticks, and they were all hitting him constantly to kill him. And to save his life, he ran out of Vrindavan, away from Vrindavan. He was hungry for many, many days. He just had the water of the Yamuna. He didn't have anything else now. Nothing, absolutely. He didn't even go to Vrindavan and spend a lot of time. He just happened to come there, and by then Krishna's friends saw him and started whipping him and shoot him out. Now, as he went out of Vrindavan, he's still hungry. At that time, it is described there was a Brahmana by the name Vijaya who had come to Mathura to repay off the debt to his forefathers. Because in Vrindavan, we know, there is a place called as Rina Mochan Kund. Rina Mochan Kund. Rina Mochan Kund means that place where you can pay off all the debt to your superiors, fathers, ancestors, forefathers, demigods, just by offering yourself to Krishna there. So he came. He said, I have a lot of debt according to my astrological chart. I have a lot of debt to my forefathers. So let me come here. So he came. And as he came to Mathura, Vrindavan, he bathed in the Yamuna. He circumambulated Govardhan Hill, took darshan of all the temples. But when he came to Govardhan Hill, very specifically, he was fascinated by this Giriraj Govardhan. And there, one Brahmana at Govardhan picked up a rock of Giriraj. We know we can pick up rocks of Giriraj on our own. But if an exalted Brajbasi Brahmana or some exalted Vaishnav gives Giriraj Shila to us, then we can worship. Otherwise, we can't just go to Govardhan and start taking rocks in our bag. It's considered to be very offensive. So he happened to go to Govardhan, and by Giriraj Govardhan's sweet will, one Vaishnav there gave him a rock. Now we're talking about the Brahmana called Vijay. So he took this rock, he kept it in his bag, and he left Vrindavan, and he was moving from forest to forest in the outskirts of Vrindavan. And it so happened, the cannibal monster who was hungry, whom we described with a series of sinful activities. Now he saw this Brahmana outside Vrindavan, and the Rakshasa, he was hungry for days, and he saw this Brahmana out of Vrindavan. And he saw that, oh, maybe this could be a good prospect. I can just eat him up, and then for many days I can just munch on the remnants. So This Brahmana also saw this Rakshasa. The Rakshasa saw the Brahmana. Very horrifying. The Brahmana, they can tolerate insults, they can tolerate pain of the heart, but they can't tolerate physical pain. Kshatriyas are exact opposite. They can tolerate physical pain. They can fight with a broken hand, but they can't tolerate the scars on the heart. You instigate a Kshatriya and touch him to the limits of his false ego, he will come to a battle. Even if he loses his life, that's fine. But a Brahmana, Titikshava Karunika Surida Sarvadehina, he may fear an injection, but he can tolerate insult. So this Brahmana was very scared looking at this Rakshasa, because the Rakshasa has been described to be someone who was very scary. 3 heads, 3 chests, 3 hands, but 6 arms, 6 legs, huge hips, huge nose, huge lips, long sticking out tongue, hair all standing like thorns, tongue moving outside the mouth, eyes are red, very shriveled and disheveled in his appearance. So this Brahmana did not know what to do. He just remembered Krishna and said, Krishna, protect me. And this Rakshasa came close to eating up Vijaya, the Brahmana. And at that time, by the will of providence, to save the Brahmana was inspired by the Paramatma, take the rock from your bag and slap him and hit this Rakshasa. And that's what the Brahmana did. He put his hand into his bag and pulled out that rock of Giriraja Govardhana that he got from the Brahmana, that from a Vaishnav there at Govardhan. He removed that rock and slammed on the face of this Rakshasa. And what happened? What happened is something that we will be amazed to see. The description has been discussed here. This is Garga Samhita, Canto 3, Chapter 10, text. As soon as this Rakshasa was slapped with the rock of Giriraj, what happened? Padmapatra Vishalaksha Shama Sundara Vigraha Vanamali Pitavasa Mukuti Kundalanvitaha Vamshidharo Veta Hastra Kamadeva Ivaparaha Bhutva Kritanjalir Vipram Prananama Muhu Muhu. His form changed. He got Sarupya Mukti as soon as the rock of Govardhan touched this cannibal who struggled so much, who went through so much suffering and who was so sinful. As soon as one rock of Govardhan touched, as a slap, touched this cannibal, what happened? Padmapatra Vishalaksha. His eyes became very big, long, elongated, like the petals of a lotus flower. And Shama Sundara Vigraha, he became bluish black, and he almost got the form of Krishna. And Vanamali Pitavasa, he had a yellow dhoti and he had a garland of forest flowers. It's not that he became Krishna, but one of the 5 types of liberation is called as Sarupya Mukti, where the associates of the Lord, when they have Sarupya Mukti, they look like the Lord. They don't become the Lord, but they look like the Lord. So he got liberated just by the touch of the Govardhan rock. And Vanamali, he had a garland of forest flowers. And Pitavasa, he was having yellow dhoti. And Mukuti Kundalanvitaha, he had a crown with very wonderful shark-shaped earrings moving back and forth. And Vamshidhara, he was holding a flute. And Vetrahasta, he had a cow herding stick in his another hand. And Kamadeva Iva Apara, he looked like the second form of Krishna, almost like Krishna. This monster who is described with 3 heads and 3 chests and 6 arms and 6 legs and huge hips and huge lips and long moving elongated tongue. He, just by the touch of the Govardhan rock, slammed by the Brahmana, he looked like Krishna, like Kamadev, the second Cupid of Vrindavan. And Bhutva Kritanjali Vipram Prananama Muhu Muhu, with folded palms, that form of, now the cannibal transformed into an associate of Krishna. He folded his palms to the Brahmana and Prananama Muhu Muhu. Again and again he offered obeisances. And he said, Dhanyastom Brahmana Sreshta. Oh Brahmana, all glories to you. You're so merciful. Paratrana Parayana. You are Parayana. You are expert at Paratrana, as saving others. Tvaya Vimochitoham Vai. Tvaya, by you, vimochitaha aham. Why? Indeed, I have been liberated. Not just liberated from a struggling state, but so the word mochitaha means liberation. Vimochitaha means vishesha rupena mochanam, special form of liberation. So not just liberated from the precarious condition as a cannibal or rakshasa, but now given the position of being the associate of the Lord. And Rakshasatvan Mahamate, you have, O Mahamati, O intelligent one, you have saved me from the body of a Rakshasa. Why Mahamati? Because you exactly knew how to save me. You didn't fight me, you didn't hit me, you didn't kick me, but you used the rock which saved me, the rock of Govardhan. And then he says, Pashana Sparshamatrena, just by the touch of this rock of Govardhan, Kalyanam me babhuvaha. Oh, indeed, all fortune has come in my life just by the touch of this rock. Na kaha api ma mochayitum samartaha hi tvaya vina. Therefore, nobody is capable enough of uplifting me or delivering me except you, because you have the access to the rock. At that time, the Brahmana said, Vismitaha tava vakye aham. I have become very astonished by your words. I don't know what you're saying. Na tvam mochayitum kshamaha. I don't have the capacity to liberate even myself. What to speak of liberating you? Pashana sparshana phalam na jane vada subrata. He's telling him, the Brahmana is saying, I don't know what has happened. I don't know how this happened. I myself don't know what is the glories of this rock. You please tell me what happens by this rock. So the transformed person is now speaking Harikatha. Brahmana is asking him, O saintly person, Suvrata, by Vrata, what Vrata he did? He didn't do any Vrata. The only Vrata he did was he came in front of the Govardhan rock. That's all. So the Brahmana is asking, now you please tell me, what is the benefit of this rock? I myself don't know. Now the person starts speaking the glories of Govardhan. So I'll read through. Please attentively hear, and with this we can wrap up. So this will whet our appetite to worship Sri Giriraj Govardhan with all our heart and to hear his glories. So this liberated soul is speaking. Glorious Govardhan hill, the king of mountains, is the personal form of Sri Krishna. Simply by seeing Govardhan, a person attains the supreme goal of life. By seeing Govardhan hill, one attains the pious result many millions of times greater than the result of pilgrimage to Mount Gandhamadhana. Gandhamadhana is a very famous mountain in the Shastras where all the great kings and sages go to perform tapasya. And here the liberated one is saying that millions of times higher than the Gandhamadhana mountain, you get effect just by glancing at Govardhan. O Brahmana, the same result one attains by performing austerities for 5,000 years on Mount Kedar is attained in a single moment on Govardhan hill. By staying for 1 month on Govardhan hill, one attains a pious result many millions of times greater than the result of giving in charity a mountain of gold. Even though one may have committed hundreds and hundreds of sins, a person who on Mount Mangala gives gold in charity, he attains the spiritual form like Lord Vishnu. But that same effect that one gets at Mount Mangala by giving gold in charity, one gets simply by glancing and seeing Govardhan hill. No other holy place is as sacred as Giriraj Govardhan. O Brahmana, simply by visiting Govardhan hill, one attains a piety 100,000 times greater than the piety he would attain if on a sacred mountainous trip. Rishabha, Kutaka, and Kolaka. He had worshipped many, many Brahmanas and given in charity 10 million cows with golden horns on those mountains. Greater than all of that piety, one gets more than 100,000 times that piety one gets simply by visiting Govardhan hill. By going on pilgrimage to Giriraj, one attains piety 10 million times greater than the piety he would attain by going on pilgrimage to Rishyamukha or Devagiri. There never was and there never will be another holy place equal to Govardhan hill. By bathing every day for 10 years in Vidyadhara Kund on Sri Shaila, one attains the result of 100 yajnas. But by bathing once in the kunds of Govardhan hill, one attains the result of 10 million yajnas. Of this, there is no doubt. Punyam eti na samshayah. A person who performs Ashwamedha yajna on the mountains called Venkata
Varidhara, Mahendra or Vindhya attains the post of Indra. A person who performs Ashwamedha Yajna on these places doesn't even receive 1/1,000,000th the benefit of visiting Sri Giriraj Govardhan. O best of Brahmanas, bathing in sacred rivers, giving in charity, performing austerities, performing pious deeds, all of this performed during Ram Navami on Chitrakoot, during the third day of Vishak on Pariyatra, during the full moon at Mount Kukur, during Dwadasha on Mount Nila, or during Saptami at Indrakila, all bring pious result. But all of that pious result multiplied 10 million times is received by visiting Sri Giriraj Govardhan. So in this way, he continues to speak. Then he says, by giving charity, by performing austerity, bathing in sacred rivers, chanting sacred mantras, worshipping the Brahmanas, worshipping the Supreme Lord at the Godavari, worshipping the Supreme Lord on Ekadashi, Falguna, at Kurukshetra, performing Chandrayan Brata, different places, different Bratas, different times. All of this gives pious credit, but O best of Brahmanas, by visiting Govardhan Hill, one attains the same pious result multiplied 10 million times of all the results put together. One who, thinking of Krishna, bathes in Govindakund at Govardhan attains a transcendental form like Krishna, and of this there is no doubt. Neither 1,000 Ashwamedha Yajnas nor 100 Rajasuya Yajnas are equal to visiting Manasi Ganga at Govardhan Hill. O Brahmana, you have directly seen and touched Govardhan Hill. You have bathed in the sacred waters. In this world, no one is more fortunate than you. I was the greatest sinner, but just by being touched by this Govardhan stone, I have attained the transcendental form just like Krishna. So, and finally he says, Yah shrunoti giriraja yashasyam Goparaja navakeli rahasyam Devaraja iva sotra sameti Nandaraja iva shanti mamutra. He says, Yaha shrunoti giriraja yashasyam. Anyone who even hears the glories of Giriraj, Govardhan, Goparaja navakeli rahasyam, and discusses the pastimes of Krishna at Govardhan, what happens? Materially, Devaraja iva sa atra sameti. This world welcomes him materially like Indra is welcomed in the heaven. And in his next birth, he becomes as fortunate as Nanda Maharaj, because he gets the personal association of Krishna. Dear Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis on the call, we just try to scratch on the surface of the glories of Sri Giriraj Govardhan. There can be so much that can be said, but I hope this inspires us to pray to Giriraj Govardhan, to worship him. So as we conclude, 3 points that we can practically apply. Point number 1, if we have a Govardhan Shila with us, please worship with lot of devotion. May this inspire and whet our appetite for more intense qualitative and quantitative service. If we don't have a Govardhan Hill, pray to Krishna and continue to pray to Govardhan in the form of picture. There is no difference, absolutely. You can download a picture of Giriraj Govardhan and frame it on your altar, or one of the Giriraj Govardhan Shilas that we have in our temples, and then you can pray to Giriraj. You pray for pure devotion. This is point number 1. Point number 2 that we can do is try to visit Vrindavan and circumambulate Giriraj Govardhan whenever you can. And point number 3, you can search for the Govardhan Ashtakam by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. It starts with Krishna Prasade Nasamasta Shaila Samrajyamapnoti cha vairinopi. It goes like that. Govardhano me tishatam abhishtam. It's called Govardhan Ashtakam. So you can kindly chant that Govardhan Ashtakam every day and pray to Giriraj for increase in devotion. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for kindly participating and attentively and very affectionately participating and attending with lot of devotion. I hope this inspires all of us to go deeper on the path of devotion. It's about 10 o'clock in India, so I will pause here. It's 12:30 local time, Eastern Standard Time. So I will pause here and give the charge back to the hosts of the call. Thank you, Prabhus, for kindly considering me for this service, and I hope that I was able to offer some source of hope in all of our lives, because we may be sinful, we may have had a bad past, but look at the person, how sinful he was, and he was uplifted by the touch of Govardhan rock. So let us pray to Giriraj to give us devotion, because Giriraj was placed on the head of Krishna, higher in priority than God. So let us pray to that Giriraj who sheltered Krishna under his lotus feet, that Krishna who shelters all of us as the Supreme Lord. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam
So
pavanebhyo.
I'm going to post the questions on the chat. If you can look at, that would be nice. I don't mention any name. It can go one by one, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
So the first question is, how can I be determined in bhakti in the absence of devotees in my locality? I feel very lonely sometimes because of the absence of devotees. Well, by the by the corona pandemic, we are all connected. Physically, we may be disconnected and we may be socially separated, but spiritually and virtually, we are all connected. So how to increase our determination in bhakti? By hearing about Krishna, by chanting about Krishna, by reading Prabhupada's books, by taking care and worshipping Tulsi, by these simple things every single day. And of course, we need some help. We can't be alone. Man is a social animal. He's a sentient being, so he needs some companionship. So it could be in the form of maybe some devotional friends, someone around whom we can meet, of course, with masks. If not, at least virtually we are connected to some Vaishnav, higher Vaishnav, who can help us, guide us from whatever state of devotion we are at. So I think these things are simple things to do. Following Ekadashi strictly, taking care of Tulsi Devi, chanting the holy name, reading Prabhupada's books, hearing Hari Katha, and being under a superior. These are some things, even while being physically separated, virtually. Second question is, my question is, when Krishna is bluish, then why Lord Jagannath is black? Well, Krishna has been described as very beautifully in the Padyavali. Govardhana prastha navambuvaha kalinda kanya navanila padmam vrindavana udara tamala shakhi tapatrayasya bhibhavam karotu arakta dirgha nayano nayanabhirama kandarpa koti lavana vapuradadana bhuyat samedya hridayamburu adivarti vrindatavi nagara nagara chakravarti. Rupa Goswami has very beautifully described that Krishna's form is not black and it's not blue. Govardhana prastha nava ambuvaha. When he stands on top of Govardhan hill, he looks like a rain-filled monsoon cloud. Ghana shyam. He is bluish black. And Kalinda Kanya Navanila Padmam. So on top of Govardhan, he looks like a rain-filled cloud. But when he's swimming in the waters of Kalinda Kanya or Yamuna, Nava Neela Padmam, he looks like a bluish, dark bluish lotus flower. And Vrindavana Udara Tamala Shaki. And when he stands with his arms stretched in the forests of Vrindavan, he looks like a tamal tree with his branches outstretched, a dark tamal tree. So in this way, Krishna is bluish black. And Srila Rupa Goswami has also named his book as Ujjwala Neelamani. Ujjwala means very self-effulgent, and Neelamani means a bluish black sapphire stone. So Krishna is bluish black. And of course, we don't have a piece of wood of that color, so Jagannath is dark. So, of course, Jagannath, we know, takes a lot of forms also. He takes the form of Ganesh also, and Chandan Yatra, he has other colors also. But yeah, black. Third question, how can I feel and taste the nectar of chanting? Well, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajan Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishtha and Ruchi goes for the holy name too. Naam Shraddha, Naam Nishtha Sadhu Sangha, Naam Bhajan Kriya, Naam Nishtha, Naam Ruchi, Naam Asakti, Naam Bhav, and Naam Prem. So Naam Ruchi is a stage, but before that is Naam Nishtha. Sometimes we feel that, first taste will come and then I will chant more. But that's not how it works. First is Nishtha and then is Ruchi. Nishtha means whether there is taste or there is no taste, I will do it as a duty. I will do it as a duty, right? Whether mind is absorbed or not absorbed, whether I like, I don't like, I will do it because my Gurudev has told me. He has said, this is Niyam Raj, this is the king of all rules. Prabhupada writes, chanting 16 rounds attentively is the king of all rules, minimum 16 rounds. So because it pleases the spiritual master, I will chant. Whether I get taste or no, if Prabhupada and our Guru Jan say that by, let's say, just as an example, by walking backwards, you will get Krishna, then that should be our regulative principle, to walk backwards, whether we like it or no. What our acharyas say, that is tarko pratishto shrutaya vibhinna nasa vrishit yasya matamna bhinna dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatasya pantha. Whatever our acharyas have said, that is the path we have to tread on. Yad yad acharati sreshtha tat tat evetaro jana sa yat pramanam kurute lokas tadanuvartate. Krishna said in the Gita also, what great men do and speak, that's what common men will follow. So the point is, whether we have taste or we don't have taste, we should chant. The taste is not there. The taste is not there because Rupa Goswami has spoken about this in the Upadeshamrita. Pitto patapta rasana na rochikano kintu adarad anudinam. Rupa Goswami said taste is not there because of the jaundice of material enjoyment. Forgetfulness of Krishna. We don't have love for Krishna, and Krishna's name are non-different. Therefore, because we have no love for Krishna, we have no love for the holy name. But what is the remedy? Kintu, still, adarat, with reverence, with respect, anudinam, every single day we should chant nicely. Krishna, I have no taste. Japa may seem to be the most horrible thing for me at this point in the states of consciousness, but it pleases you, therefore I will do. It pleases my Gurudev and my spiritual masters, therefore I will do. They have advice, therefore I will do. Whether I get taste or no, doesn't matter. So first is Nishtha, Nam Nishtha. First we must keep doing. And then when Krishna is happy with our steadfast determination and endeavor, then there is Nam Ruchi. He gives his mercy, and with his mercy, we get taste. So it's not that taste comes first and then we chant. We should continue to chant. And when Krishna is impressed with our steadfastness, that he doesn't taste anything, still he's chanting, therefore I will shower my mercy. And when Krishna's heart melts and he showers mercy, that's when taste comes. And then when taste comes in, one can't stop chanting. One cannot stop chanting. That's what great acharyas who are chanting, they say. Prabhupada says, why 16 rounds? Why not 16,000 rounds? That is quality. His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj quotes in his book, The Living Name, this section. So how can I feel and taste the nectar of chanting? But first by being steadfast. That is point number 1. Second, avoiding the 10 offenses. We are reading it like a parrot, but we have to sit in seclusion and introspect. Which of these things I am indulging in? Because if we commit the aparad, then taste and harinam will not come. Because in Sanskrit, the word radha means taste or pleasure, and apa means no. So those activities, when we perform, the taste in the holy name is taken away. It's taken away. Like for example, when we go under the rain, we are drenched and we are wet. But let's say we have an umbrella. It is raining, but we are not wet. Why? This umbrella is an aparad. It is stopping, it is blocking the flow of nectar. That's happening with the holy name also. Krishna's Harinam form, Kali Kale Nam Vinu Nahi Ara Dharma, Sarva Mantra Sar Nam Ei Shastra Marma. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes Krishna's holy name, not different from him, is raining nectar, happiness. But the aparads that we are committing, they are like umbrella. They are protecting us carefully from tasting that nectar. So we have to see the 10 offenses, 11 offenses, in fact, to be inattentive to. So that's beyond the scope of today's discussion, but that's something we can do. We can introspect. First is to be steadfast in our chanting every single day. In the Brahma Muhurta, chanting, sitting and chanting attentively, whether my mind roars or my mind whispers or my mind says, get up, go to sleep. My mind says, drink something. My mind says, look at your phone. My mind says, walk. And we just sit there like a statue. To be steadfast, point number 1. And point number 2, to be careful of the 10 offenses. And point number 3 would be to always seek the association of those who have taste in the chanting of the holy name. By doing this and being Nam Nishtha, then Krishna showers mercy. Final question, does the size of the Govardhan hill shrink? Yes, shrinks. There's a story Of course, we'll not get into the story now, but it says by the curse of a sage called Paulastya Rishi, Pulastya Rishi, we can say, by his curse, Giriraj Govardhan shrinks by the size of a mustard seed, Shastra says. However, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he refutes and rebuttals that by saying, how can Pulastya Rishi, who's not a devotee, he is a Brahma Rishi, how can he curse Giriraj, who is a great Vaishnava? So Giriraj, according to Chakravarti Pad, is not reducing by the size of a mustard seed because of the curse of Pulastya Rishi, but he is reducing by the size of a mustard seed because of separation from Krishna. When you are tired and you're fatigued, you naturally sit down. So Giriraj is tired and fatigued searching for Radha and Krishna, and after they have departed and disappeared, Giriraj is shrinking in separation and sadness, not by the curse of Pulastya Rishi. So Shastra says by the curse, but Chakravarti Pada or Gaudiya Vaishnavacharya, we respect his opinion more, that it is by the fire of separation. Whenever there is fire, there is melting. So Giriraj has melted by the fire of separation from Krishna. So that is 4 questions taken. Thank you so much.